All right. Time has come for one of the strongest armies that you can start as a rookie, and that is Japan. Um, Japan has a lot of advantages. It can be difficult to use, but it is a very strong army and it's very competitive. You can also do very well themed Japanese armies, but almost always they will be strongly competitive, even though you're aiming for theme. It has other advantages as well, in my eyes. It's very easy to paint, although you will need a lot of minis. Um, so, in that respect, that's both a plus and a minus, right? Um, the Japanese paint scheme is fairly simple, um, with that almost yellowish uniform, right? Right. Let's start with the advantages and then talk about some minuses of the Japanese lists. Um, their national special rules are some of the best in the game. They have two, and they work really well together, and they support the main list building types that you can make with Japanese lists. So they have the Banzai rule, which enables them to, even though they're pinned all to hell, to still conduct a run towards the nearest enemy, and if they catch up to them, they will charge them and fight in close combat. And you will even remove pins. So that is really good, especially because they, at the same time, everything is fanatic. So close combat is where they really shine. Um, they might not win the close combat, but they will definitely hurt whatever they hit. Even designated close combat units such as Maoris or Gurkhas or SAS troops or fanatic SAS, everything will be hurt if it's contacted by a fanatic Japanese unit. They'll kill something because they continue fighting, right? So those two rules work really well together because they enable a close combat oriented um, nation, basically. Um, so the two main types of lists that I see being built with Japanese, of course, there's the balanced one where you take a little bit of everything, um, but that's not what I see the most. I see either people go for veteran Japanese or regular maybe, and equip them with extra gear or whatever, um, so so that their units are more survivable and that they're harder in close combat. Um, Grenadiers is good for this. Um, Veteran Japanese Grenadiers. And the other list that I see is inexperienced hordes, bamboo fighters. Tons of those, or inexperienced regular infantry, that also works. Um, and then just pushing them up towards the close combat. Um, both of them work really well close up to the enemy because if with the veteran one, if you're at range and you then they'll shoot you. I mean, grenadiers they'll have three grenade light mortars in each squad, but if you move close to them, they'll charge you. And with the inexperienced stuff, if you shoot at the inexperienced bamboo warriors or inexperienced infantry, they'll go down. But if you don't shoot at them, they'll run towards you, getting ready for a charge. None of that is good. The final element that I see in most Japanese lists, even if it's a veteran list or an inexperienced list, they will almost always have some HE support, some mortars or artillery or mobile artillery. And that works really well because while they're shooting, people are going down or scattering or whatever, and then they move their infantry up for the assault. So that combination of arms works well. One thing that I think you should learn if you're a good Japanese, want to be a good Japanese player, is the trick of conga lining your units so that you make, instead of like having your unit in a like a round lump, you make a sort of a line, and you use that line to go back behind some cover so that your unit always has cover. Remember to place more than half of your unit in cover for the enemy, then the rest can sort of push up along and see if they can get closer to the enemy. Yes, you will lose some, but you still get cover when they shoot at you. That's a good trick. Not very historical, I'm sorry to those of you who want to play historical, but it's a good trick for the game. Right. There are some units that I want to point out as being especially good for Japanese, and in my view the Horo assault gun is possibly for its points the best howitzer in the game, because it's mobile, it's on an armored platform, it's great, it's really awesome. You can even buy it inexperienced and then just have it like start shooting in on a specific target. They will move and your units will be able to move up. Also, the suicide anti-tank squads, difficult to use, but when they do hit, oh my god, do they kill stuff. They're really good, and they're really good at scaring away enemy armor. And then the bamboo fighters, of course, they should be nerfed as quickly as possible. I mean, men with wooden sticks have 0 survivability in World War II, and in this game they are one of the most OP units of all. They're inexperienced, they can fight in close combat, and they're fanatic, and you can throw them away because they are exceedingly cheap. So just a screen of bamboo fighters in front of your regular army, just throw them at the enemy. Let them die. Doesn't matter. They cost like 5 points each or something. They're extremely cheap. So they are a really good unit for their point value, that is. Are there some disadvantages to the Japanese? Yes, there are. They don't have a lot of different tools. Their AT is pretty weak, apart from the suicide bombers, and they don't have easy access to tough fighter, which would have been too good. I mean, their officers of course get tough fighter. You can equip them with SMGs or these katanas, samurai swords, right? So they get tough fighter, but in the units, not so much. It's difficult to get units where there's a lot of tough fighter in it, and that's what you want for fanatics, right? If you have a fanatic unit that's tough fighter and can bonsai, that would be really, really good. That would be the best close combat unit in the game, but they can't really get that. So that's a minus. And they have pretty weak tank options. Japanese armor was also in real life maybe not the best. In the early war, it was pretty good, but they didn't develop it and they didn't need to. Which means that in our game, their tanks are pretty substandard. They don't measure up to other people's tanks. So yeah, that was the Japanese, I think. Cheers.